Now to a dire warning about climate change. According to a new report, experts say that we have until 2030 to avoid catastrophe. It also says if unprecedented changes are not made and made soon, there will be irreversible damage to the planet.
You turn on the TV nowadays and you have probably seen or heard of this before. What really comes to mind when we think of the word climate change?
It would likely mean more erratic weather, dangerous heat waves, rising sea levels, and dying coral reefs.
The Earth is suffering a crisis of mass extinction. Today, wild plants and animals are running out of places to live. Have a look at how humanity is already suffering from the vanishing wild.
Well, humanity is not sustainable. To maintain, basically, for the entire planet, you'd need 5 more Earths. Not clear where they're going to come from.
But what you don't see much of on TV is the younger generation have had enough and are speaking out towards governments and big corporations that don't care about saving the environment, but rather profiting off of it.
School children have today ditched the classroom to take to the streets over the state's bushfire disaster, which they say was worsened by climate change.
Too young to vote, the crowds hope this mass demonstration will force politicians to listen.
The future generation is starting to wake up to the fact that climate change will affect them over their lifetime.
Massive global crisis, and you are leaving it to children to clean up your mess.
Scientists have been telling us over and over again, and even more so now, that we are running out of time.
And fight for what is right and to use their voices to influence change. They are the voices of tomorrow.
Roll on scene 1, take 1.
My name's Nirvan, I am 10 years old.
Hi, I'm Kush, I'm 11. My name's Nelva, I am 11.
My name's Eliza, I'm 11 years old.
My name's Tiana, I'm 10 years old.
My name's Subir, I'm 9 years old.
Hi, I'm Sir Jane, and I'm 9 years old.
Well, when I think of climate change, what comes to mind is lots of pollution.
I think of icebergs melting, fossil fuels, greenhouse gases, and so on.
The first thing that comes to mind is when I'm thinking of gas coming out of cars and when chemicals come into the air.
Icebergs melting, the ocean getting warmer, and droughts.
I think of the sea levels rising and pollution globally around the world.
I also think that ice melting and the wood getting warmer.
What do you think might happen if we don't stop climate change?
Here at New York's Union Square, the famous climate clock is getting an update. The climate clock behind me says that we have 6 years and 250 days to turn around the worst of the climate crisis.
I think if we don't stop climate change in the future, it will be world devastation. Right now, there's already lots of microplastics being found in lots of humans' bodies, in their blood.
Our Earth will become more dirty and really bad, and people won't like to live in this Earth.
It won't be fun to live on Earth. It will be really, really bad.
It will get really dangerous. We would start losing a lot of animals, and a lot of animals would go extinct. And the Earth, it would kind of look like a rubbish bin because we would litter.
Our Earth won't be a world where we can appreciate it, and it will just be contaminated with dirt and pollution.
Well, the air will be polluted and will all die out very soon.
Generations to come, they won't come. They will stop maybe even within a few years based on climate change.
I guess we're, as a society, facing some really, really big, sometimes scary global challenges. Climate change to me is probably the biggest and scariest one that we're facing. Not necessarily because it's such a large problem to tackle, but because of the interlinkages with all the other challenges that we're experiencing that are really hindered on the way in which our climate is changing. Hi, I'm Brittany Vermeulen. I work at Western Sydney University as our sustainability coordinator, and I'm also a PhD student here at Western as well. Having a big clock in front of you that says we've got 100 days until the planet ends, I don't know if that's the right messaging, but it definitely is confronting, and it would be something that turns your head and you make it go, okay, wow, oh shit, what's about to happen? Which can be scary, especially when you're talking to young kids about these sorts of big challenges. And I guess it's an accurate representation of where we are if business stays as usual. If nothing changes, we just keep working the way we're working, then yeah, we are probably going to meet our fate quite quickly, but I'm quite optimistic with everything that I'm aware of and the work that I'm doing, and I know other people doing, that time perhaps isn't necessarily accurate in the scheme of things. I feel like we do have more time. And yeah, I don't know whether scaring people is the right approach to when we're wanting to invite them into sustainability conversations, because it sets it off in a negative point of view. We really want to be inspiring people.
Major bushfires are raging out of control across New South Wales.
Up to 30 properties have been wiped out around the town of Rappville.
An emergency warning has been issued for a bushfire burning out of control at Lake Innes.
To the developing fire emergency in New South Wales, 14 emergency warnings are now in place.
The bushfire emergency gripping our state is heading into uncharted territory.
It kind of made me feel sad because my favourite animals were dying, because whenever they get calm, they climb higher up the tree. Well, it made me feel nervous that bushfires would happen in our area. So, because if that happened, then it would be really dangerous.
Yeah, so the most recent bushfires that we had were actually only a little bit up the road from where we are right now, and it was hugely devastating for our community. The smoke pollution made its way across, overseas into New Zealand. A dear friend of mine and a colleague, he volunteered his time on the RFS and worked for that period of time over his school holiday break to actually work to put out the fires. It was a really scary time. A lot of uncertainty. It made the media. I had my colleagues overseas messaging me to see if we were okay, how close are the fires. I have people that live up there, friends, family. And it's not even just the most recent fires. We've had a whole swathe of floods as well, which is another example of climate change and climate impacts in Western Sydney. So it's just sort of been natural disaster after natural disaster for this Hawkesbury community, which has been really a difficult time for this community. And I guess it sort of encourages you to want to help and want to make change.
Then, the young generation had enough.
School children have today ditched the classroom to take to the streets over the state's bushfire disaster, which they say was worsened by climate change. Protesters even briefly shutting down city traffic to try to make their voices heard.
Too young to vote, the crowds hope this mass demonstration will force politicians to listen.
Most of them don't know what it feels like to be a kid living in the bush, walking out of your house and only seeing the red of a fire on the horizon.
Our government is doing nothing.
I think it's fabulous that school students are out there going, we want more, we want more, we want more. I attended the school strike that was in Sydney. When I got out of St James train station and just saw the amount of people there, I actually burst into tears because I thought, oh my God, I'm not alone in this. Working in sustainability can be quite challenging, especially when you're an empathetic person like I am.
And the government's response to the protests were as usual. Excuses.
If they want to take other action on issues that they think are important, they should do so after school.
This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
The Treasurer knows the rule on crops.
I think it's great. Why not? Young people are the future generation that are coming through. We should have an active role in the way in which our society plays out. We should feel encouraged to be able to have that voice. And I think standing up and saying what you're doing is not good enough is absolutely correct. And having parents that support their children to stand up and say that as well is really critical and crucial in changing the mindset of this next generation and encourage them to actually have an active and engaged role in the world that they're going to inherit. Why not? Protest all you want, I say.
The koalas are dying and I want to save the koalas.
Because the government isn't doing enough to stop climate change. So we have to go out of school to protest.
But it's not just the growing concerns of severe weather patterns. It's also that the government is ignoring the constant emissions of fossil fuels warming up our planet.
Pollution there's many types of pollution. They contaminate our planet and it's not really good for our environment.
Pollution is different gases and chemicals like going and ending up into the air.
They go in the air and they make our air like dirty and unhygienic.
Well, these fossil fuels, they're affecting our planet by emitting things such as like smoke, which is polluting our sky. Things that it emits can destroy the water, such as ocean environments and habitats for animals such as sharks, fish, and all of those animals.
Then times changed and Anthony Albanese became our next Prime Minister. In one of his speeches, he announced something quite surprising.
We announced last December what our policy framework would be, and it happened to come out with a 43% target by 2030. Is an opportunity that Australia has to end the climate wars, an opportunity to reach for solutions, not arguments, an opportunity to provide the certainty going forward.
I think that you have to have something legislated to have big action. I'm proud that we have a government that has pushed that forwards. Obviously, there's always going to be scepticism around, is it enough? Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? Are people getting out of it in other ways? But if we think about it as an actual conversation that people weren't willing to have, now actually represented in law, to me it's a big deal. It's like everything that you wanted to see happen suddenly happened with this new government, and something that I'm really proud to be an Australian for. It really did fill me with joy.
Because the cheaper, cleaner energy flows well into the future. And that's what sets Australia up for a prosperous future.
It is clear that the young generation are very well aware with what is going on in our today's world. The question now is, how and why should we stop it? Or should I say, how do we slow it down?
We have to save the planet, right? We live here, we don't really have any other options. But it's more than that, you know, we should be good stewards of this place. We should care about our local places. We should care about the planet. We should value the planet. Indigenous people did it before we came along. And it's about reconnecting with our environment and rethinking the way in which we approach this world and the value in which we place on the planet. And the question isn't necessarily why, but how. So I spend a lot of time in my job here thinking about the ways in which we can approach these big global challenges. For me, in my work, it's around education. So education plays a really vital role in the way in which we approach these big challenges, in the way in which we can tackle these big sustainability issues. It's crucial at all levels, from school to university to informal education. So to me, education is the how piece of how we move forward, how we understand the issues, what we do about them next, and how we make smart and conscious choices to be able to actually lead to improvement. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening, even at our own institution here at Western Sydney University, around sustainability or climate change. For example, we've just become carbon neutral accredited, which means that all our campuses are now running off 100% renewable energy, which is fantastic and a year ahead of schedule. So that's a really positive news story. Technological solutions for how we reach net 50, to all the way through to what I'm doing in my office with, you know, just educating people about how to have a conversation with your neighbours around climate change. There's a scale of work happening at all levels. Young, old, business, education, it's happening out there.
To be honest, I actually think everyone should be responsible for fixing climate change because after all, we are the ones who started it, so we have to end it. And also people like world leaders such as Joe Biden and Anthony Albanese, they could help fix this problem of ours.
From Australia Prime Minister to presidents from the United States could also help and come together and try and stop climate change.
Everyone can make a difference into this world, and it's not just all the well-known leaders like Joe Biden and all the other premiers and prime ministers and presidents. Everyone can make a difference.
I also agree we all should start helping the world.
We could all step in and help, trying to use less plastic.
I can help climate change by recycling different things. For example, when I put different plastic bottles into the bin, they bring them to another place to get recycled, and recycling means when you change it into something else to reuse it.
Yeah, actually at school I'm a part of the recycling team. We go to all the classes, pick up their recycling, put it in the recycling bin, and then at the end the recycling truck will come pick it up and then recycle it.
There's something that is called return and earn. We could collect plastic bottles and cans and we can put them in to get money from it.
Plant more trees, stop littering, and don't throw waste into the sea.
And we could recycle boxes, cardboard and paper.
And not only just recycling, but also recycling energy and less cars with pollution.
I think that there are many options for renewables. We have many different options that can help reduce climate change and global warming, and some of those could be solar panels, using electricity instead of using fossil fuels to power our everyday items.
Each and every one of us can make a difference into this world, and that difference can be a benefit for us.
We should all work together to stop this.
That we should stop putting plastic on the floor and put it into the bins.
Don't litter and keep recycling.
If we don't stop climate change, we're not heading only this generations, for all generations to come.
Our futures are at risk.
Is destroying our Earth. How far does this have to go before our government finally takes action?
It's never too late to make a small change. Do it for the young generations of tomorrow.